right, guys, thank you for waiting. We're going to get started right away here. So first and foremost, I just want to go over a couple things. Just a quick housekeeping slide for you guys. So first, this presentation is going to be a condensed version of something we do every 6 weeks. So we do this in person typically. And it's a little bit of a newer format because it really just focuses on what we're doing as professionals to protect you as home buyers. And we want you to be very comfortable and feel very safe when you're going out looking for a home and going through that whole process of buying a home. So this is going to be a little bit of a different format and really focus on that aspect. You're also encouraged to take notes. I will be sending everybody an email with a copy of these slides, so you guys will have a slide deck of your own to follow along in. And then also reach out to us if you have any questions afterwards. And then if you guys don't mind, please reserve your questions and put them in the chat. We would be more than happy to answer your questions at the end of the presentation. Just for the sake of time, we're trying to keep it at that 45-minute mark for you guys. Alrighty, so first and foremost, Jim, realtor with Remax Elite, he's going to introduce himself.
Thank you. As Sunny said, I'm Jim Dhillon. I'm with Remax Elite. Remax Elite has 5 offices in Canada, 225 agents. We're one of the biggest brokerages in Edmonton. We own 13% of the market share in Edmonton, so we're a big part of the real estate market here in Edmonton and surrounding area, Sherwood Park and St. Albert as well. Also Beaumont. I spent 3 years on the Member Services Committee, so I'm very active in the real estate community and well known throughout the real estate community for sure. I'm currently on the Marketing Communications Committee at the board. I ran for a director position at the Edmonton Real Estate Association as well, so a lot of people know me from that. And I'm also vice president of the Windermere Residents Association, so I'm very active in my own community. I do tons of volunteer stuff, as you'll see there: Stollery, Boyle Street, Ronald McDonald House, Habitat for Humanity, transportation, also for many events across Edmonton. I believe in working hard, having fun, and doing good. So I think that's my goal each and every single day. So the first thing I wanted to go over is real estate is an essential service. Many of you know this. People don't know why it's an essential service. A lot of people were surprised when it first happened, so I wanted to review why. Land Registry Office and real estate was given essential service designation by the government of Alberta. Because there's tons of transactions right now in real estate that have yet to close. So what people don't know is that although you buy a home now or a business now, it typically doesn't close for a month, 2 months, sometimes even 3 or 4 months down the road. So you don't actually move into it for a while. So a lot of transactions happened before COVID. And when COVID hit, those transactions still had to complete. Okay, they still had to close. So because if they didn't close, there would be a lot of legal ramifications, okay? Because people had made commitments to that money. So people had said they would sell their house, and when they got the money for the house, they had made commitments with that money. So if they didn't follow through on the sale, they'd kind of be left high and dry, and there'd be a lot of legal ramifications and a lot of financial and mental stress as well. So the government deemed us an essential service so that we could help people through these transactions. There's many other professional services that support these transactions also, things like banks, lawyers, accountants, mortgage brokers, and home inspectors as well, as you'll see. So shutting down any of these sectors, like real estate, could have had a huge unintended consequence for consumers and kind of a domino effect. So they wanted to avoid that. So what I wanted to mostly talk about today, as Sunny said earlier, it's a condensed version, is mostly what we're doing during COVID. So to help protect you guys, to help guide you through a transaction with as little exposure to things as possible. So first of all, I wanted to talk about is a lot of people call me and they think real estate has come to a standstill. So they call me, they're like, hey, Jim, I guess you're not doing very well. Hey, things have come to a halt, right? Actually, it hasn't. So through the first part of April, you'll see here, there's over 2,200 listings in Edmonton in April so far. So that's over 90 a day. Over 90 listings a day have been putting onto MLS. And there's over 900 transactions now. This is a little bit low right now, actually. So 900 transactions. So quite a few transactions. So over a 30 a day being made every single day in Edmonton. So people are still buying, people are still listing. So to give you an idea, there's over 14,300 listings right now in the market. That's a lot of listings. So people have choice right now. So if you're looking to buy a house, it's not like there's going to be nothing to look at. There's tons out there, tons for you to choose from. So there are some advantages and disadvantages to buying right now. So I'm going to talk about both of them. The advantages are people that only need to sell are on the market. Okay, so people that don't absolutely need to sell typically have pulled their home off the market for now. Just because of COVID, they don't want the exposure to any additional people. And the bigger part is that they don't want to take a hit on the price at all. So they know that prices have come down. So, and the buyers have a bit of strength here. So they've pulled them off the market. So homes that you see, those 14,300, these are people that need to sell. So pricing has come down, like I said. So sellers are open to offers. So because of COVID, because there's less buyers out there and less showings, the pricing's come down because the people still, like I said, need to sell. And sellers are open to offers because they need to sell. So interest rates are low. So to stimulate the economy, because a lot of things have closed down, the Bank of Canada lowered the Bank of Canada rate. So in turn, a lot of lenders lowered their rates as well. And Sunny will talk about that later, about the advantage of getting locked into a mortgage, so your interest rate is low, which is right now. So there are some disadvantages though. So disadvantages are there's only savvy buyers buying right now. So the people buying right now are investors and people that really want to move and need to move and understand that they can get a really good deal. So the normal person isn't really buying. The normal person is locked down at home. So the people buying right now know that if there's something out there, they have to jump on it right away. So if something good comes on the market at a good price, it's going to go very quickly. So I had an incident like this just a couple of days ago. We made an offer on a property. It was only on the market 2 days. It was at a spectacular price, a really nice home in a great area. And you know what? My buyers, they wanted a day to think about it, so they did. We made an offer the next day. By then, it already had an offer. So there was 2 offers. By the time we made our offer and the evening rolled around, there was 3 offers. So and it sold fairly quickly, and that's because it was a really good property. So buyers know when there's a good deal because there's savvy people out there right now. It's more cumbersome to actually see homes right now. So they have put in processes to protect you guys and also to protect the sellers with COVID right now. There's some checklists you have to sign off to say that you're safe and healthy, and also a hold harmless agreement, which I'll review later. So it is a little bit cumbersome to see the homes. You have to wear gloves, mask, you have to sanitize. So so there is a bit of a process to it. So that's that. It's not as easy. People that don't need to sell right now are not on the market. So see up here, I said people that need to sell on the market. By the same token, people that don't need to sell aren't on the market. So that means that if there was homes out there that you could possibly see where they weren't really motivated to sell, you're not going to see those homes. That might be a benefit to you because you're only seeing homes where you can get a good deal, or it might be a negative to you because you won't have as many to look at. Make sense? So there are no fees or costs associated to you when using me as your realtor. So I wanted to make a point of bringing that up because a lot of people don't know that the buying realtor, the buyer doesn't pay that person. The seller pays both realtors, okay? So someday when you sell your home, you'll have to pay both realtors. But for now, you get my services, you get the benefit of my expertise at no cost to you, so it's a huge benefit to you at no cost. So next thing, I wanted to review all the precautions we're taking, and we're going to review them in detail in the next few slides. But first thing we're doing is virtual open houses. So MLS and realtor.ca have made it in the last few weeks that you can put open houses right onto MLS and realtor.ca. So you can do a walkthrough of the property on a Saturday instead of going to the property. So regularly for an open house, you would go to the property and walk through it, and the realtor would be sitting there at the door. Now you just have to click on a button on realtor.ca and you can do a walkthrough in an open house there. So a lot of times you can see the property without even going to it with this feature. No touch showing. So we've made it so you don't have to touch anything while you're in the home. Virtual consultation and social distancing meetings, which I'll talk about. Video walkthroughs, which I'm willing to do for you. All paperwork and signatures done remotely. So this was something that I've been doing for years because I'm paperless, but it's a huge benefit right now because you don't have to meet me. COVID-19 checklists in place to ensure all due diligence is done in regards to health and safety. So these checklists, both you and the seller have to do to swear solemnly that you are safe and healthy and that you have no issues and no health issues right now. And a hold harmless agreement for both you and the seller, basically saying that you agree that you're healthy and safe. You know that they've signed something that they're healthy and safe. And if something does occur, you won't hold anybody harmless because it won't be from this situation because you've both sworn that you're healthy and safe. I want to make it clear that you can buy a home from the comfort of your own couch right now. So we literally made it so easy for you to buy a house, and we'll talk about all the steps here right away. So I wanted to say this is one of the things, we have a social distancing, we have a huge boardroom, and I'll talk about this through the presentation, so I wanted to show it to you. We have a whole boardroom, so it's people's comfort zone. If you prefer to meet, we can still meet and socially distance. You can obviously sit more than 6 feet apart from me. I have sanitizer there, gloves, masks, everything you need. So if you do prefer to meet, we can still meet, but if you'd rather do video conferencing, we can do that as well. So everybody has a different comfort zone. Some people still want to meet, others want to do video conferencing, and we'll manage to whatever you feel is right for you. So first, the consultation. So like I said here, I will do a virtual consultation via Zoom. So the idea of this consultation is basically to get to know you and what you need for today and in the future, so I can find you the ideal home. So we get to know each other, where you live, what kind of work you do, how long you want to live in the home, things like this. And where, if you need a bus stop close by, how long you want to live in the property, 5 years and move up, or do you want to live there for the next 20 years? So you're going to have kids there. Do you need to be by a school? All important things to find you the perfect home. The other thing I'll ask is for you to describe your ideal home to me, okay? I want to know exactly what your ideal home is so I can find you the right thing. Other things that we're going to talk about is some of the things we have in purple here to protect you. So the COVID-19 buyer's checklist. So this is a checklist that we will check off together and that you will sign off on, that no one that's seeing the home has left the country in the last 2 weeks. You haven't been in contact with anybody in the past 2 weeks that's tested positive to COVID-19, that you do currently not have any symptoms of COVID-19, that you or anyone in your house is tested positive to COVID-19, or that you or anyone in your house is awaiting test results. So these are just a few of the questions. There's 4 or 5 more, and it's basically an encompassing idea of what your health is like. So you can sign off, the seller signs off on this as well. So we know that the seller is safe and healthy to protect you, and we know that you are safe and healthy to protect the seller. The next thing we'll do is sign something called a hold harmless agreement. So the way you acknowledge that you reviewed all the Governor of Alberta recommendation regarding COVID-19, the seller acknowledges this as well, and that you sign the checklist and that you're safe and healthy and that you know that the seller is, and that if you do become sick, it won't be from these showings, and that you will hold everybody harmless, and we've done our due diligence. After that point, we're ready to go look at homes. So during the showings, let's see what we're going to do during the showings. So during the showings, I'll do something called call ahead service and no touch showings. So that's where I'll call the realtor ahead of time to ensure no one in the home is sick. I also make sure that they've done their checklists. In some cases, I might even have it sent to me just to make sure that all their due diligence is done and that you're protected. I'll also ask them to ask the seller to leave all the cupboards and closets open and the lights on, so there's a minimum amount of touching from us. We'll go in, we'll look in the cupboards, we'll look in the closets. We won't have to turn the lights off. We'll just walk in, look around, get a good idea of the property, and leave. I'll bring hand sanitizer with me to use before and after. I will bring disposable gloves for each of us to use. We'll practice social distancing during the showing, stay 6 feet apart, and we'll spend as least time as possible in the home. All conversations will basically take place outside the home. So we're doing as much as possible to definitely minimize your risk and make sure that you will not, be at any type of risk when you're doing showings with us. So as we go through the showings, eventually you will find the home you love. And when we found the home you love, how are we going to make an offer? That's what I'll review next. So the entire offer and negotiation process can be done remotely, okay? So first of all, we need to talk to discuss the offer, okay? So we can do that virtually again over video conferencing, or you can come into the office. I showed you the picture earlier where we're 6 feet apart and everybody is safe and secure, and we can do it that way, whatever your comfort zone is really. What we're gonna talk about during this talk is what's a fair price, right? So I'm gonna do a evaluation of the home that you're interested in and tell you what it's worth. Okay, at that point, we'll have a good idea of what we should be offering. My goal is to get you that property at market value or below. Okay, so we want to make sure that you get a good deal. I like getting good deals. So other things we're going to review is conditions. Okay, conditions are things like financing, home inspection, and also condo documents. Okay, so we're going to make sure that we put these conditions in, and Sunny will go over the importance of a financing condition here in a minute. So although you're pre-approved, you're not actually 100% secure in financing until the bank knows what you're buying. So we have to send them all the information on the house once we came to an agreement. And at that point, Sunny will be able to confirm your financing. So we'll put in a condition just in case something goes wrong and you don't get it. We want to make sure you're safe and secure, and to protect you, we'll put that in. And then a home inspection condition. So we want to do a home inspection to make sure what you're buying is a good property and that there's no expensive fixes and there's nothing in the property that's of concern. So we'll put in a condition that in case we find something during that inspection that's a red flag, that you can get out of the deal. Condo documents conditions. So this is with condo docs. A lot of people don't realize how important it is to study condo documents. So a lot of people get into bad situation with condominiums because of fees that they get charged after they move in. They're called assessments. There could be $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 assessments on a property. I don't want to scare people, but if you review these condo docs, you can, for the most part, avoid situations like that and make sure that you're protected. So I typically insist you do all these conditions and make sure that you're safe and secure and protecting yourself. And we'll put in and talk about these conditions some more when we meet. Other things, inclusions and exclusions and other terms. So we're going to make sure the appliances are included. We're going to make sure any fixtures in the house that are interesting are included. And we're going to make sure any decorative items that you like are included as well. So we're going to include all this in the offer. So there's lots to talk about. So it's important that we talk at this point to have a plan. Also a deposit. So a lot of people don't know you have to give a deposit when you make an offer on a property. So the deposit is given as a form of good faith to the seller and shows the seller that you're very, very interested in the property. The deposit goes towards your down payment, okay? And you get it back if one of the conditions aren't met. So if you don't get your financing, you get your deposit back. If the inspection goes badly, you get your deposit back. So you're really not locked into the property yet, and you get your deposit back in case of an issue, but you have to make a deposit. It sits in a trust account for both you and the seller until closing day, and then it goes towards your down payment. So if you have other questions about the deposit, please type it in and I can answer the questions into your comments bar. I will pick up, this is something new I'm doing. I'll pick up the draft, the bank draft from your institution, or it can be transferred to our brokerage trust account, whatever you're more comfortable with. So, before you had to bring the deposit to us, and you can certainly still do that. We have a mailbox. You don't have to see anybody. You can just drop it in the mailbox and leave. Or if you don't want to leave the house, I can definitely go to your institution and pick it up for you. Or we can supply you with a trust account number and you can have your bank just transfer it right to our account. So you don't even really have to leave your house if you don't want to. The offer is sent via DocuSign to you. So after I fill in all the information, I send it to you for signing. It's as easy as just signing it on your phone. So again, you don't have to leave your house at all. And negotiations are all done by the phone. So I send it to the other realtor via email. He calls me and tells me he receives it, texts me, calls me with a counter. I call you with a counter, and we discuss how we're going to proceed. So this is very easy, okay? And again, you can do it right from your couch. No need to even leave your house for any of this stuff. So eventually we're going to have the offer accepted. Yay, offer accepted. At that point, we can move on to the next step. So I just wanted to do a quick check here. So I reviewed why real estate is an essential service, also why brokers are, and in some cases lawyers, and also home inspectors. I reviewed the advantages and disadvantages of buying right now, reviewed precautions we're taking, reviewed steps of buying, consultation, showing, and then eventually the offer. And then, and now we're gonna move on to Sunny here. So at this point, the property is considered pending. They've accepted the offer on the terms and conditions in that contract. And now you need to go back to Sunny and get your financing approved. So he's gonna take over. You're up, bud.
Awesome, thank you, Jim. So as you can see, Jim is doing a great job in terms of keeping his buyers safe. All right, so the next step here is going to be the mortgage. I'm going to quickly just introduce myself before we get into it. So my name is Sunny Vig. I'm from the Mortgage Force team here in Edmonton. We're an independently owned, family-operated Dominion Lending Centers office. We have decades of banking, mortgage, and financing experience under our belts. And my family comes from a very extensive banking and mortgage background. I got my mortgage license 11 years ago. My mom's been in the banking industry for 32 years. My father's been a mortgage broker since 2002. About 6 years ago, we decided to join forces, hence the name Mortgage Force, and work together and get people in their homes. So very proud of our accomplishments. We won the 2019 Consumer Choice Award for mortgage brokers in Northern Alberta, and the 2019 DLC Platinum Award for being amongst the top 10% of mortgage brokers across Canada. So like I said, very proud of those accomplishments. We work with many mortgage lenders, including big banks, credit unions, mortgage finance companies, trust companies, and some of these are exclusive to just our office. We have a lot of options for your particular situation and your particular needs, and we'll talk about how we're going to discuss those. We pledge to serve our clients with integrity, honesty, and with their absolute best interests in mind. And like Jim, we don't charge for our services. Our services are completely free to use. We get paid by the lender based on the mortgage amount and not the interest rate. So it's in our best interest to give our clients the best interest. Ultimately, our goal is to provide a great overall experience. We work for our clients. We don't work for any particular lender, and we want to do the best that we can to earn your referrals and future business. So we want you to tell your friends and family how great of an experience you had, and that's how we operate our business for the most part. So like every other business, we've taken steps to adapt to COVID-19, a new world that we live in, hopefully temporarily. And I'm going to go over why mortgage brokers are deemed essential services. So the government of Alberta has deemed services that provide access to credit, stocks, and other forms of liquidity or finance to individuals, groups, or businesses to be essential services. This helps the economy to continue to run. And it's a very important, real estate is an important backbone of the economy. So, bad things would happen if they stopped credit and lending in this economy. A couple things we're doing. Again, we are doing phone consultations, which have been quite successful. Or if you prefer to come into the office, we are taking clients and we are making sure that our meetings are socially distanced. So we will sit six feet apart. Just like Jim, we have a couple of spaces actually in our office where we can meet you, where there's a lot of space. We can also go over your application over the phone or via video conferencing, just like Zoom, for example. Documents can be sent to us via email. They can be faxed into us. We do have access to fax. Also, we have a secure mailbox outside of our office that has a slot that you can pop your documents in. This has a key and it's locked and secure. So we do like to visit the office at least once a day to pick up any sort of mail or any sort of documents that clients leave us. So you can choose to meet us if you would like, and we'll take all the necessary precautions, or you can completely just do everything over the phone or email. Another alternative to all of the above is flashmortgages.ca. And this is something that I've been working on for the last 6 months, probably a little bit longer, completely unrelated to COVID. And this allows you to do your whole application, upload documents using the camera on your smartphone, get approved, sign your final paperwork with your finger, get status updates, communicate with us via chat, all from an app. And it's called, you can access this app at Flash Mortgage or flashmortgages.ca. Both of those links will take you there. So extensive program during this time right now, it's coming in handy, and it's actually quite convenient for a lot of people to use it. So this is, again, something that I've been working on unrelated to COVID, but it is coming in handy quite a bit. So I do urge you to visit this if you prefer that method. Okay, so let's jump into some common terminology. I'm not going to spend too much time on these things, and it might seem like I'm going through this very quickly, and that's because I am. If you have any questions in regards to this, reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to go through each one of these terms more in detail with you. So the first term is going to be your pre-approval. So this is actually something that you do before you go shopping for a home, especially during this time. You want to make sure that you're going looking at homes that you can afford and that you can get. You don't want to be needlessly just looking at homes without a pre-approval in place. What a pre-approval is we'll take your application, we'll pull your credit, we'll send your information to a potential lender, and they're going to approve you as a client even before you go shopping for a home. Another good thing about this is that it holds your interest rate for 120 days. Interest rates are very low right now, so chances are you're going to get a very low interest rate held for you. Now, if the rates go down even further, you will get the lowest interest. You will get the lower interest rate. If they go up again, hey, your rate is held for you, right? So it's very important to get a pre-approval. It's good for you because it ensures that you're getting a low interest rate just off the bat, and that you can qualify for the house that you're looking to buy. Down payment is the portion that you pay upfront for a home. The rest of that money is going to be mortgaged. Minimum down payment in Canada is 5% of the value of the home. If you're buying under 500,000, if you're buying over 500,000, then it's 5% for the first 500,000, 10% for any amount over that 500,000. Mortgage default insurance, I'm sure most of you have heard of CMHC. That's not the only mortgage default insurer in Canada. There are three, the other one being Genworth Financial and then Canada Guarantee. Ultimately, it doesn't matter who your home is insured with. This insurance protects the lender in case you as the borrower defaults or stops paying their mortgage. It's pretty much an insurance policy for the lender. If you're putting less than 20% down, it is mandatory and it is paid by the borrower. This amount will just get added onto your mortgage amount. So at the end of the day, you will end up paying a couple of bucks extra every single month. Not a big deal, but it is definitely an expense that you want to know about. Amortization refers to the total length of the mortgage. So the total amount of time it's going to take you to pay off your mortgage down to zero. And the most typical amortization in Canada is going to be 25 years because that's the maximum amortization you can get when you're putting less than 20% down. As soon as you put 20% down or more, your amortization increases to a maximum of 30 years, but you can choose to have whatever amortization you'd like. Within that long amortization, there are smaller segments called terms. And a term is pretty much just a period of time that you agree to pay a set interest rate. There are two interest rates or two interest rate types. The first is going to be your fixed rate or your fixed term. Just like the name, again, your rate is going to be fixed. It does not change. You know what your payments are going to be. You know what your rate is going to be for the length of your term. And the most common term length is going to be 5 years. On the flip side, we also have access to a variable rate or variable term. And like the name, it can vary depending on the prime rate of the Bank of Canada and the prime rate of the lender that you're with. So when the economy is doing really good, what happens is the Bank of Canada increases their prime rate and the banks typically follow that increase. And this is really just to combat inflation. When the economy is not doing so hot, the prime rate goes down and so does your interest rate. So this is a tool that the government uses to combat inflation and to kind of fight those changes in how the economy is doing. So right now, the variable rates are very low. The prime rates are very low just because of how the economy in Canada is. Your prepayment penalties apply if you break your terms, and that's another reason why it's important to have a conversation as to what the best way for you to get a mortgage is because ultimately, if you have a fixed rate, you're going to have an interest rate differential penalty, which can be quite high. If you have a variable rate, you will pay a 3 months worth of interest. So that's why it's important to have this conversation early on. Now, buzzword for a long time in the media was stress test. All the stress test is just something that's implemented by the federal government to ensure that borrowers can make their payments in an environment where interest rates are rising. So regardless of what your interest rates are, we have to do the calculation and qualify you as if your rate was 5.04. And I'll talk about that very briefly in the next slides as well. Okay, so these are 5 factors that influence a mortgage application. The first factor is going to be your property, right? The type of property, is it a property that you're going to be living in? Is it a property that you're going to be renting out? And the location. So if you're buying a property in Edmonton, typically you're not going to have any issues. Where there might be issues if you're buying, a property that's a rural property in the middle of nowhere where you're dealing with well water and septic tanks and stuff like that. Sometimes lenders have restrictions on that. And ultimately what they're trying to determine is this property marketable? If the borrower stops paying this mortgage and we have to take over the home, are we able to market this property and sell it within a reasonable amount of time? The property is the lender's security. The second factor is your credit report. Credit report is pretty much a report card for repayment history of your credit accounts, right? So cell phones, credit cards, lines of credit, car loans, other mortgages you may have, all this stuff will show up on your credit. And how you pay those credit accounts will determine your credit score. And also if you have any sort of collections or previous bankruptcies or consumer proposals, that'll definitely impact it. You have to have a satisfactory credit score, and not only a satisfactory credit score, if your credit score is a little bit on the lower side, we need to have solid reasoning as to why that score is a little bit lower and try to mitigate those risks, right? The other factor is your income to debt. So I promise I talk about this a little bit. I'm not going to jump too much into detail with this, but lenders look at your source of income, right? They look to see that it is going to be a secure source of income. You're not going to be, laid off or lose your job. And right now this is important because a lot of people are going through temporary layoffs. So we need to make sure that you're not going through a temporary layoff and that you're actually working. So that's one thing that has definitely changed that, wasn't really a big factor prior to COVID. And then your debt to income ratio. So your GDS and TDS with the stress test applied. And again, I'm not going to dive into what GDS and TDS is. And instead, I'm going to point you to some resources where you can actually calculate this yourself. And I'm going to try to empower you as much as I can, just for the sake of time. Down payment and fallback is another factor. So source of down payment, is it money that you've saved up? Or is it money that you're getting as a gift, right? So the source of down payment is important. And then also leftover funds after down payment for unforeseen circumstances. So now more than ever, this applies. And lenders want to make sure that you have some money left over after your down payment to not only close the transaction, but also in case something goes wrong, maybe your furnace goes out or maybe you lose your job. So typically lenders want to see anywhere from 0.5% to 1.5% of your purchase price for any sort of fallback in addition to your down payment. And we can talk about that. And it really depends on what lender we're dealing with for that. And then overall strength of the application is the last factor. So they'll take a holistic view of the whole application and determine whether you are a strong applicant and a strong client. And if there are any issues or any sort of risks, are we able to mitigate any risks? Pretty much, if you have a solid property in mind, no issues with the property, you have a good credit report and credit score, if you have a secure job and making an income, and you have your down payment ready to go, you should not have any issues getting a mortgage. So we'll make it very easy for you. We'll talk about your personal situation in the initial consultation, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I promised that I would empower you and allow you to do those calculations by yourself, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about now. First, I want to talk about the rates again. I touched on this before, but rates are extremely low right now. A really, really good opportunity to get a good deal in terms of your mortgage. So I would advise getting started on a mortgage pre-approval. Again, no obligations, but it might be a good idea to lock in a good rate in case you go looking for a home. A couple of resources for you guys. If you go to our website, www.mortgageapplyonline.ca, you not only will get access to flashmortgage.ca, you can go directly to that URL as well, but you can also access it through our website. But also you'll get access to My Mortgage Toolbox, which is an app that we've released. And this, you can actually calculate your mortgage payments, do those GDS, TDS calculations, do the stress test calculations. You can actually get a pre-qualification certificate right on your phone, just emailed right to you, and do all those calculations yourself. So a great resource is My Mortgage Toolbox. You can also see rates and everything are updated on there as well as flashmortgages.ca. If you want to do that full-on pre-approval, just from the comfort of your home, you can do that. We can do the whole process in that way. Now I'm going to pass it back to Jim, and he's going to talk about the importance of a good home inspection.
Now that you went to Sunny and we know you're 100% good for financing, we still have two more conditions that you have to take care of. Home inspection and a condo docs if you're buying a condo. So the home inspection is very, very important. Basically, you want to make sure that you're safe when you're buying the house and you're buying a good home and a home where there's not going to be any expensive fixes for you coming up, and one that's been maintained well, which is very, very important. So there's three different options that Brendan is offering with the home inspection. He'd be with us today, by the way, but he's not available, so I'm doing his part for him. So there's three different options he's offering you. One is that you can attend the home inspection with gloves and a mask while socially distancing. So this is really, really important because he wants you to be safe and secure when you're in the home, not only for yourself, but also the sellers and also him as well. So if that's your comfort zone, you want to be there for it, you're welcome to be there. As long as you have the gloves, mask, and socially distance. The other option is you can wait in the car. So you can just wait in the car. Brendan will go through the whole house and do the inspection for you, and then he'll come right out to you after he's finished. He'll walk you through it and tell you exactly what he found, and then email you a report after and go through that as well. The third option is that you do not need to attend at all. So you can stay home. Brendan will do the entire inspection, email it to you, and then you can go over it on your computer or on your phone, and he will phone you and walk you through each page and what he found. Yeah, so there's three different options, all very good options. Again, you don't need to be, you can be on your couch, like I said earlier, or you can come to it if you'd like to. So what does he do actually? So Brendan will thoroughly go through and check all the mechanical and structural parts of the home. Okay, so he'll check everything out, make sure that, like I said, everything is being maintained well, everything's in tip-top shape, and that you don't buy in a home where you're going to have to fix something right away, or that if you have to fix something, you'll know. He'll also have lots of pictures in there. He'll send you a detailed report. Once he sends you a detailed report, he'll call you again and review and answer questions over the phone. So he'll also provide pictures of all areas of the home and highlight any areas of concern. Okay, so he'll walk you through, he'll show you the picture and say, hey, look, this is what I'm talking about, this is what I meant, just so you know exactly what to expect. And the last thing he does, which is great, is provide you basic maintenance tips of the home. So this is very important if you're a first-time home buyer. People don't know what to do every month and how to maintain their home a lot of the time because they've been renting and not had to do that. So this is very important that he walks you through that and gives you an idea of maintenance tips so you can make sure your home is well maintained for when you sell it someday. Yeah, so he'll do all this. So once the inspection is done, you're happy with everything, you talk to me. If you're not happy with it, we can go back to the seller and get them to fix things or renegotiate in some cases. And if you are happy with it, we move on. So I'm going to do a quick review here again. Importance of a pre-approval, Sunny went over. Important mortgage terms he reviewed. Resources available for you to get approval, importance of a process of an inspection I went over, and now the only thing that's really left right now is the legal part of it. So you've seen your homes, you bought your homes, we put the conditions in. You made sure you're solid for the conditions and everything with the home is secure and you have your financing. We removed conditions and now basically it's time for you to go to your lawyer, sign everything before you can move in. Yeah, so Sherry's up next. Go for it, Sherry.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Sherry Ssimons. I'm a lawyer with Ackroyd Law here in Edmonton. Just a little bit of background about myself. I was born in Red Deer and have lived in Edmonton for the past 20 years. Edmonton's always been my home base. My firm provides a variety of legal services for very general practice. As for myself, I received my undergrad in science and my law school degrees at the University of Alberta, and I was called to the bar in 2014, so I've been practicing for 7 years. My main practice areas are real estate and wills and estates. Those are the two things that I like to offer to my clients, and I also do some corporate law and other sorts of drafting as well. Presently, I'm the chair of the Canadian Bar Association's Real Property Law section for Edmonton and Northern Alberta. I'm also a volunteer wills roster with the Edmonton Community Legal Center. So we provide free or discounted costs to low-income individuals who need assistance with their estate planning. So the government has declared that legal services are essential, especially with respect to real estate. The government has determined that it is important that real estate and commercial transactions continue during this pandemic in order to create commerce and to boost our economy. So the essential services list does include lawyers. It also includes land registration services. So that would be our land titles office here in Alberta. So that remains open and they will still continue to accept and process registrations. So this means for law firms that we can provide services, but we do have to have appropriate risk mitigation measures in place. So that includes things like physical distancing and sanitation measures. So normally I go through and give a lot of information about what I do in the background, what my role is in the real estate transaction for you. However, I'm going to just give you a condensed version with some general information about what I would do. So if you do have questions after today, I know this is a very short formed presentation, I would be happy to answer them. You can call me or reach me by email. So basically, my job is to protect a buyer's interests. So there's a lot of background checks that I'll be doing in the background. So that will include pulling a property tax search for the property, make sure there's no property taxes owing. I'll do a personal property registry search for the sellers, just to make sure there's no concerns that I should be aware of there. I will pull a certificate of title for the property and just check the registrations. Some registrations could cause red flags, so I want to make sure that those are addressed as early as possible. If you're buying a condo, there's also the condo plan that I would pull from the land titles office. One of my other major roles is to receive funds from lenders. So as a lawyer, we have a trust account where we can deposit funds securely. We're authorized to deal with those funds on behalf of buyers. So we receive funds from lenders, and we will also send the purchase funds to the seller on closing date. Another thing that I do for the buyers is I'm in charge of registering the transfer of land and the mortgage documents with Land Titles Office. So that is something that I take care of you. So behind the scenes, there's lots of things that my team and I do here. Once we have all of the documentation prepped and everything's ready to go, I only need to meet with you once. Everything else, like I said, can be done in the background. So generally, I'll meet with you about 7 to 10 days before your closing date. So at this meeting, I'll be doing a number of things with you. So firstly, I do need to verify your ID. That is for my record for the file and also for your lender's requirements as well. I'll be reviewing the certificate of title with you, just to explain any registrations that you need to be concerned about on there. We'll also look at the real property report and the compliance certificate from the City of Edmonton. So again, the compliance, we'll see if there's any issues with the property. Again, that's something that I would review in advance, and if there are concerns, I take steps to address those. I'll review the statement of adjustments with you. So that will outline any adjustments made between the parties. So the most common adjustment made is property taxes. There could be other credits that the parties have agreed to as well, so those would be reflected on that statement. I'll review the transfer of land, go over anything that's registered on there. Again, if there's anything that I need to bring to your attention, I'll do that. I will review and sign the mortgage documentations with the buyer. And then I accept the balance of the payment from you, which is known as the cash to close. So due to the COVID pandemic, there have been changes to standard real estate procedures that have been made. So again, from a lawyer's perspective, our main challenges in real estate transactions are to verify the buyer's ID and also to sign documents with them. So there's lots of mortgage documentation, transfer of lands that need to be signed, as well as affidavits. So there have been changes that are temporary that have been made by the Land Titles Office and also by the Law Society of Alberta. So I'll be going over those just briefly here. So Through the government, Land Titles has authorized the temporary registration of documents that have been witnessed, sworn, or affirmed by lawyers using two-way teleconferencing. So that is something that they are accepting. The problem is original signatures are still required on all documents. So we have to make sure that those original signatures are going to Land Titles for registration. So that is something that we still have to continue during this time. These temporary measures are in place as long as there is a public health emergency in effect in Alberta. So for the Law Society of Alberta, so the Law Society of Alberta is the governing body that will regulate and monitor the practice of lawyers in Alberta. So they have also given guidelines and temporary modifications to procedures to lawyers during the COVID pandemic. So for real estate deals, lawyers must be following lender requirements. And so some lenders might not allow for verification of ID over video conferencing, but it seems like during this pandemic, most of them have. So it is something that we do need to check for. So during this time, Ackroyd Law is here to help you guys. We want to make sure that your transactions are still going smoothly, and there's a number of steps that we have taken to mitigate any safety risks. So if you are still comfortable coming to our building to sign documents, we have a number of safety and security protocols in place. So the main lobby of our building does have hand sanitizer dispensers next to the elevators. For all of our staff and guests that are coming to attend our office in person, we do have a mandatory hand washing policy. So when people come in, they have to go wash their hands right away. We have reduced the physical presence of most of our staff. So a lot of them are working remotely, so we're reducing as much physical presence here as we can. Likewise for client meetings, we've reduced unnecessary client meetings at our office. When we do have clients meeting here, we use our large boardroom. It's used for very essential meetings where possible, just to provide that social distancing. As for our signing room, we do sanitize our rooms before and after use. And we will remind clients to bring their own pens just for additional health measures. Alternatively, if there's clients that aren't able to come out, or if they are not comfortable coming out to our building, I am happy to meet at client residences. That is something that I'm fine with doing if it would make you feel more comfortable. So again, like I said, there's usually just that one meeting at the end that I need to meet with you with. So if I'm attending your residence, I'm supplied with hand sanitizer, I can wear a mask and wear gloves. That's not a problem for me. We just want to make sure that you're as most comfortable as possible. Now that the weather is getting good, we can have meetings in the front yard, in the backyard, that's fine. I don't even have to come into your house if that would make you uncomfortable. We can have meetings outside, weather permitting, of course. In very extreme health risk cases, remote meetings could be considered. So these, again, will be dependent on the lender's requirements and also will be up to the lawyer's discretion, just depending on the amount of risk that the transaction is presenting. So here's a picture of our boardroom. So it is very spacious. We also have a nice plastic partition there, and there are spaces there for us to be transferring documents back and forth to each other. So it does allow for that safety barrier if you do come in for doing real estate signups, or if you're here for wills and estates or other in-person meetings that are very essential to meet with you. So that is it for me. So again, that was a lot of information condensed. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me or call my office and I'd be happy to answer them. With that, I'm going to turn it back to Jim, and he's going to go over the possession details.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so now that we've done it all, basically, this is the entire process, front to back. You've went to Sherry, signed off and everything, so you're good to go. At this point, you know, you're basically ready to move in. You're going to move in probably a week to 10 days after meeting with Sherry, so it's not a lot of time. And a few things I want to talk about what happens on possession day. So please, I request, do not plan to move. And for this is there can be delays. So how it works is your lawyer will send the amount owing to the seller's lawyer. So typically your lawyer gets it from the financial institution, they send it by courier, then they send it to the seller's lawyer, also by courier. And then once he gets it, only then will keys be released. They can't call the listing realtor and tell them they have the money, they can release keys, and then at that point they call me. So it's a bit of a process and there can be delays. We're counting on a lot of different people not to be delayed for you to get your keys on time. And that doesn't always happen. There's always, not always but occasionally there is delays. So once I get the call, at that point, I go to the brokerage and pick up the keys. So I don't have the keys until I get that call. I can't go get the keys. So typically that happens between noon and 2 p.m. But like I said, there has been instances, usually a few times a year, when there's a bit of a delay. If you're moving on that day, that can cause you a lot of stress. So please, we want a stress-free day for you. We want you to enjoy the process. We want to meet at the house, walk through it with you, and then basically take your picture with the sold sign, have a really, really good day for you, and enjoy it. So please don't cause yourself any stress by moving that day. The day after, you can move. Other things I'm doing right now because of COVID is a pre-move-in sanitization. So I'll have professionals come in and sanitize the home before you move in. So that would be on possession day as well. So another reason you probably shouldn't move in on possession day. I will take over the home, we'll walk through it, I'll have the cleaners come in, clean the home, and then you can move in the next day. So you have a nice, new, sanitized home to live in. Wouldn't that be great? So the last thing I'm going to go over is we just want to thank you for joining us today. I wanted to make it clear again, an abbreviated version of what we usually do, mostly highlighting on the precautions we're taking for COVID-19 and a little bit of the process, but mostly the precautions. So we encourage you to reach out to us. All our information is there. You can also Google us later on if you like, and it will always come up. And ask any questions you like. We can walk you through the process in more detail. We can meet, or we can do virtual meetings, whatever's easier for you.
If you guys do have any questions, definitely reach out to us. We are going to be recording this and also putting it on YouTube and Facebook. So if anybody out there has any questions, reach out to either one of us. We'd be more than happy to help you out. So yeah, anything else you want to address, Sherry?
No, that's everything. And yeah, thanks for joining us, and feel free to get in touch if you need more information.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.